Good morning, genealogy friends. Oh, we're just going to leave this here for a minute so people know what we're talking about. You might have caught my post yesterday. If you didn't, I'm sorry that I wasn't live earlier this week. I actually caught a virus over the weekend and have not been feeling too well, but I'm feeling better today. And the million-dollar question, do I have COVID-19? I feel like that's what everybody wonders now when somebody doesn't feel good. And I actually took a COVID test and it was negative, so that was good news. Anyway, hopefully I will be able to do these without interruption from now on for a while, but when you don't feel good, what are you gonna do? All right, let me flip this around. Good morning. From the land of looking like a tired mom. I'm trying to think if there's any updates. I am behind in getting those pages done because I wasn't feeling well. So those aren't coming out yet. And I have can you see it? I have my Midnight Genealogist shirt on. I'm basically in my pajamas. I ordered this in a really large size so that I could just be comfy. It's actually very apt because I was up too late last night, even though I don't feel great. My great uncle, my grandmother's brother's DNA test results came in, and we are getting very close to solving the mystery of his mother, my great grandmother, who is a Caucasian orphan who grew up and married, it was illegal, a Chinese man. And so their children have a very convenient DNA split that allows me to see what part is from their orphan mother. So I'm trying to figure out if I can see who her biological parents are. Haven't cracked it yet. Still a little slow on my DNA research, but I'm learning a lot, so that's good. I feel like this is a really good first problem to tackle. Anyway, was up way too late. Okay, so one of the things that I have been working on off screen is, I'm not sure if how public, I don't know that I talk about this much on the genealogy blog, but I have been a blogger now for more than 10 years. I used to work as an attorney, and when the recession hit in 2008, around that time, I spent a couple years making the shift from being an attorney to being a blogger full-time. I didn't blog about genealogy until last year, though. I blogged about my life, I blogged about parenting. I actually started as a wedding blogger. So I blogged about my wedding and then other people's weddings. And as a result, there were lots of blog posts floating around on the internet that I had written. So I recently moved my mom blog. I changed things around and I moved it to a different host, which meant that I basically had to take apart my blog and move it over. And in doing so, I found out that I had a little under 3,200 blog posts sitting on this blog, which is a lot. And I didn't have them saved because they were just blog posts, and I wasn't taking them seriously as part of my journaling past. So I knew that if I didn't save them, I was going to lose them. Sorry, I apologize for my voice. It's the cold. I knew that if I didn't save them somehow, I was going to lose them in the move because I was not going to move 3,200 blog posts over to a new site. And so what I did over the course of a week is I had to go through them one by one and figure out if they were worth saving. A lot of them were not. A lot of them were promotional things, or they were just not worth saving, kind of the equivalent of inheriting a big box of paper from your grandmother and then realizing that you probably don't need to save the scribbled notes that mean nothing to you, or the receipt that you can barely read, or, where your first instinct is, oh, I need to save everything. And then as you start to get into it, you're like, well, I don't really need to save this part of an envelope that doesn't have anything on it. Now, the trick was that I could see the blog posts online, but if you just hit print from an internet browser, I'm not sure how often you guys have done this, things tend to print very badly. You get a lot of, if there are ads on the site, then you get ads and you get images get cut off, and it's not pretty. So I knew that I wanted to save these blog posts, but I couldn't figure out how to save them as blog posts. So what I did I found a Chrome plugin. A plugin is something that you can add to your internet browser. I use Google Chrome as an internet browser, and you go and you download this plugin and add it to your internet browser, and then it makes a little button in the top. The one that I added is called Print Friendly, and I'll show you that again in a second. But I added something called the Print Friendly plugin, and what it did is it takes any web page and turns it into a really nice looking, neat PDF. Doing that one by one, I saved about 1,100 blog posts. So I wanted to show you what they ended up looking like and talk about why these would be important, because I think a lot of people, maybe not so much now, but about 10 years ago, a lot of people had blogs that they wrote on sporadically. I feel like especially people who were young families, things like that. People were blogging for friends and family, and this is something that you could take advantage of as long as you can see the blog. So even if your family member had a personal blog, a private blog, if you have access to that blog and that blog still exists, you'd be able to do this. We'll talk about that in a minute too. Okay. These These are some of the posts that I printed out. So this is one from 2013. This is my daughter and her pony. And you can see it printed out really nicely, great big picture. This is sort of a significant thing in our family. My aunt bought my daughter a pony when she was 2. And that was part of the process of us finding out that my daughter has a life-threatening anaphylactic reaction to horses. So this was before we knew that, in her cute little riding suit. This is, I mean, for lots of reasons, like I want to save this beautiful picture of my daughter. It sort of fits into a larger family story. It has the date and the area that we were. It has my words at the bottom. This is another one that's just a mom post. This is my youngest at 3 months. And again, I'm not blogging here for genealogical purposes. I really am just talking to people about our life and how things are going with 3 kids and having one be 3 months. But it's, the modern baby book. To give you sort of a look at what other blog posts might look like, this one is from a trip. This blog post is from 2007. I have been blogging in one form or another since about 2005. Over time, blogs and their capabilities have changed. This was from a Blogspot blog, which a lot of us had in 2007, and this is pretty much the standard size that digital photos were posted at on Blogspot. So instead of being printed like these giant, beautiful color pictures, they are going to print out at their maximum size when they were uploaded, which you can still see. You can clearly see who's in this family photo. This is my husband and I before we were even engaged. But it's just, if you're wondering why your photos are turning up small, that it could be just that they were uploaded small and there's nothing you can do about that. Here's one from, again, I've spent 10 years being a mom blogger. This is a bread recipe. This is not a baby book. This is not a family trip. This is not anything like that. But so I make bread every week because my daughter's food allergies prevent us from being able to buy commercial bread. And the bread recipe that I use is very simple, but it's obviously going to be a large part of my children growing up. It's something that's very central to our family. So that's something that I would want to save. And then this is the last one. This is just a recap of a work trip that I took. Disney World flew out a bunch of bloggers, and we spent some time at Disney World. So again, this has nothing to do with family, and this is actually sponsored. You can see, it's not what it says, but this was a sponsored thing. This is my work. This is the equivalent of a work record, considering I work as a blogger, which is sort of a funny occupation. So I saved a lot of posts that had to do with my work and my activities as a blogger because I'm hoping that there will be some interest in that from my descendants. Let me flip this back around. So I really like the way they ended up. So what I did is I got the plugin once the blog posts were open, and I opened one blog post at a time, so I wasn't trying to print the whole blog. I downloaded this plugin, Print Friendly, and then when you hit the little button at the top, that the little green button that Print Friendly creates, it gives you some options. There's a print option, but I chose PDF so that I could save a digital PDF of the blog post and then print it out as I wanted to. That's what you want to do. The quality was a little bit better, and you also, if you're not used to saving digital records, everything's going digital. At some point, you might even want to upload a digital PDF of a blog post, maybe to Family Search, or you might want to collect a bunch of PDFs and send them to another family member. It's good to have the digital copy and then be able to print from that instead of having a print copy that you have to digitize later. That's what I'm saying. Kind of like how it's better to now take digital photos and print them than to continue using film and then scan everything, unless you are a film artist, photographer. Okay, a few more thoughts, if you don't mind listening to my scratchy virus voice. So last year at Rootstack, I talked about saving social media. I talked about saving Facebook posts, Twitter, things like that. Blog posts are included in the group of things that a lot of us have created, and yet we don't think of as something that we need to protect from an archival standpoint because blog posts are casual and everybody has them and it's just a blog post. If you are telling stories and saving information on a blog, if you have somebody in your family who is telling stories and saving information and you don't want to lose those things, you cannot rely on the blog provider to save that for you until you want them again. If you have a Blogspot blog, there is a chance that you could be hacked. There is a chance that your blog could be deleted. Google owns Blogspot blogs. You may have written them and they could be your photos, but that is a Google platform. That's theirs. If they wanted to suddenly delete all of the Blogspot blogs from the internet for no reason, they could do that and they wouldn't have to explain themselves. If you have a WordPress blog, it can be hacked. If you have a blog that, I'm trying to think, like, you can go back really far. I mean, people had blogs on Salon. I think I had a blog on Chat for a while. All of that is vulnerable. Even your Facebook post, all of that is vulnerable to outside interruption and disruption. So it's important to do what you can to get your records and your stories and your photos into your own hands, in this case, digitally. I mean, I am going to print some of these out for my notebook, but right now, like I said, I had more than 1,100 PDFs, so at some point I'll probably print them out and bind them and force my kids to read 10 years worth of my blog, which, my poor children. But anyway, but you want to at least have a digital copy. You want to have something that you own, because when it's on a blog on the internet, even if it's your blog, you don't own that. And if you have a daughter who recorded the early part of her marriage and, when her kids were babies, and recorded stories that way on a Blogspot blog until she got tired of it, it is completely up to her also to delete that. If that's something that you enjoy and you wanted to save for your grandchildren, or you just wanted to save for yourself, as long as you have access, you can make PDFs of anything that you're looking at on the internet. Interestingly, I actually do not recommend the Print Friendly plugin for saving Facebook posts, which I can talk about in another live if you're curious. However, it would work technically if you wanted to look at something on Facebook and then use the plugin to make a PDF of what you're looking at. I don't think it's the best method. It is, however, better than nothing if you're not saving your Facebook posts at all. Also, tiny PSA, make sure you're printing off and saving your emails if they're important to you. People don't do that. Email is the same level of vulnerable. Even if it's your email address, it can be hacked or there can be a problem with the server. You don't own them until you have a digital or print copy in your possession. So thank you so much for tolerating my scratchy voice. I'm going to show this one more time. I really appreciate it. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.